Radial is all about producing solutions for the market, whether professional audio for live touring or for in the recording studio.
And it's all analog, isn't it?
Well, I would say 99.9% is analog. We have a couple products that touch on the digital side, but we're very much more on the analog side of things for a bunch of reasons. I find that analog is something that long term will be with us. Digital is a constantly changing situation. So when you buy a piece of digital equipment, it's very expensive 1 week, and 6 weeks later it's maybe obsolete. So analog is interesting because it stays with us.
But for the user, don't you get more opportunities with the digital world?
Well, I think digital brings a whole bunch of benefits. I mean, I've been involved with audio since the 1970s, and of course I was involved with I was on the development team for the Akai S1000 back in the 80s. I mean, I've been involved with digital a long, long time. Digital brings to me a very, very powerful medium, particularly for recording. This is post-production, creativity I think is very strong in digital. What we try to do with analog is to do something that is more organic. We try to look at things, particularly on the recording side, is touch and feel, to listen and move. It's not so much measured, it's you listen. You have to use your ears.
So you get a lot of sound effects or what?
Well, of course, if you want sound effects, you can create them. But more importantly, you're creating signal channels. You're starting with let's say, a very clean analog sound. You might have a tube sound that gives you a bit of character. You might add distortion to that. You might frequency divide to split the signal so that part of it is distorted, part of it is clean, and mix the two together. It's all about creativity. It's almost like what synthesizers were doing in the 1970s and 80s and bringing it to audio. So you can actually play with it and take it apart, bring it back together, but in the analog domain.
And what is your newest product at this fair?
Well, we have several. In this rack, I have a few. For example, here we have a brand new equalizer. This is a variable state Class A EQ 4-band. This, as far as we know, has not been done before, so it's old technology that's never been done. And because we control the gain at every single stage, we have very little negative feedback, and that means you get a much more open, more natural sound. Remember, it starts with good sound before it gets into the digital recorder. You can't fix bad sound with a digital recorder. You can only mess around with it afterwards. So we start with really good sound, a really good source.
For me, and I'm a very young guy, 64 years old, analog tubes is something about adding a fault to the signal in a good way, or what?
Well, I think you're hitting onto something that's called even order harmonic distortion. What happens is the ear, it loves to hear even order harmonics. We love the sound of a tube because it warms up. We get the certain harmonics in the sound that to us sound very musical, very natural. When you get odd order harmonics, it sounds harsh. And this is why so many people say, well, I don't like a solid state guitar amp, I like a tube guitar amp. It's because they like even order harmonics. And you can make even order harmonic products with solid state. It just takes a little bit more effort.
And who is your main customers in this field?
Well, we have so many different areas, but let's just say as far as the recording world is concerned, today the studio is now moved from the big studio to the home. The project studio today is where people make music, whether you're a professional or an amateur. Everyone's at the home. What they're doing is they're fixing a room, turning it into a studio with some reasonable level of acoustics, and then they go in and they create sounds, they create their basic songwriting, they put their songs together, and then they might go to a big studio or final mix to add drums or something, but essentially the production starts at the home recording studio. So compact, a lot of options, and creativity is really what we're looking for. We want to make a song stand out on a radio. We want to hear something that gets us excited, and I think that's our customer today.
And in this case, it's an advantage that you can buy single items at a low price instead of buying a big rack.
Well, I mean, I think that there's great products of every size. I mean, the last thing we want to say that, you buy a big rack mount unit, it's not going to be good sounding, because it is. This is more about creativity and trying to get the quality into a small area. And part of the magic, of course, is getting it very compact. The smaller the device is, the more chance for noise, because as you bring the parts together, you get more noise. So I think what Radial brings to the marketplace is very good engineering designed to keep noise down, good even order harmonics, so it sounds natural, it sounds very musical, and then from there being able to route them and bring sounds together to create new sounds. I think that's what we bring to market.
And when it's a small producer, you can start with one single item and then perhaps buy some more.
Oh, you're talking about the user. Yes, I mean, we have small racks that have 3 modules, we have racks that have 10 modules, we have racks with mixers. I think in this world, if you're new, if you're a new studio user for 500 series, a small rack with 2 or 3 modules is a great way to start, because you get used to dealing with gain levels and gain structures so that you get the best signal to noise. And starting off simple, I think, is a great way to go.
And what is this starting price, you could say?
Well, a basic rack is about $400 US. We have preamplifier starting at $350. We have deluxe tube preamplifiers at about $800. So the range is, call it $300 to $800 for a module. You can get compressors for about $500, EQs for about $500 to $700 range. So it depends. It is not the cheapest thing on the market, but then again, it's very, very high quality, and that's really what we're trying to do here.